Okay, it's time to talk about gear. I travel very light and I wear layers. I started out about 35-degree weather and it's probably 32 to 35 right now. And at first I thought, why am I getting out of this perfectly warm car? It was very cold, but you work up heat pretty quickly. So, just to give you an idea, the layers that I have, I'm going to go from a hot day to a cold, nearly, I'd say about 20 degrees down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so here we go. On a very hot day, I will wear my hat, and then I've got a sheet that I put under it that shields me, so it kind of looks a little Arab, little headdress by the time I'm done. Now, as it gets colder, okay, we're going to go to cold now. I'm going to put on a light windbreaker. All of these things are polyester, and they breathe, and it's very important to have that. Otherwise, what happens is you sweat on the way up the mountain, then it gets very cold near the top, and all that sweat becomes wet, cold, even frozen clothing next to you. So you got to have polyester that breathes. Okay, as it gets colder, I can put on a pair of light gloves and a little headband, keep my ears warm. Now, as it gets even colder, let's say I start ascending into the snow, I got a pair of track spikes. And so I put those track spikes on instead of crampons. I don't like crampons because they're always falling off and it takes so much time to put them on, and I don't know. They're heavier, these track spikes. These are actually racing spikes, very, very light. So I like to go up the mountains on the racing spikes, and you can actually screw in javelin spikes that are about 1 inch long if you're on snow, glaciers, which I've done in the past. Okay, then I've got a long sleeve shirt, polyester once again. I call this the furnace because as I'm going uphill and I'm wearing that, it pretty much warms me up very well. They say that if you have your head covered, if your feet are cold, put something on your head, and a lot of your heat is lost through your head. So definitely, have the headgear. But then in conjunction with what I call the furnace, this long sleeve shirt, that can get me all the way down to maybe 25 degrees. Okay, now it gets colder, and I've got a pair of heavier gloves, and I've got a fleece jacket. And so imagine now if it's about 20 degrees, I've got the windbreaker, the furnace shirt, and this fleece jacket on, along with the heavier gloves, and I'm wearing the track spikes if I'm on the snow, and really it's comfortable up, down to 20 degrees. If it were to go down to 10 and a blizzard, I'd probably have a bubble jacket of some sort. But this gear that you're looking at right here really gets me down to about 20 degrees, and I can almost guarantee that today maybe I'll hit 25, but I bet I don't even put on the fleece jacket today. Okay, and this works as long as you are keeping up your momentum, you're moving. If I were to stop and just sit there in the cold, no, I would not say this is sufficient. And that's why whenever I get into trouble in the mountains, I just lose 1,000 feet. The difference between being in trouble and really being in bad weather, and freezing, and then being in a better place is just dropping 1,000 to 2,000 feet, and then you're fine. So I'm not one to dig in and wait for the weather to pass. I'm rather going to drop altitude and get into a better zone. Okay, and then for besides the track spikes for traction, I have knee braces which I wear on the downhill. I call them the shock absorbers, and they keep my knees warm, they give me stability, and they protect me from the shock of going downhill. And then of course I have my my Yucca hiking sticks. The reason I use that rather than the collapsible sticks is because the Yucca sticks are very sturdy. They're very, very light. They're as light as those collapsible sticks, but they're very sturdy. I can put a lot of pressure on them. I can vault rocks and little gullies, and they don't collapse. I find the collapsible sticks, eventually they tend to collapse, and you've got to have security. You have to have that stability of knowing that when you're vaulting over a rock or a little, just let's see. Here we have an example of, going downhill, down something like this. You just want to know that you can place those at the base of the rock you're going over, and you can almost vault and lower yourself gradually so that you land with almost no shock. And you got to have something really sturdy in order to do that. And what that does is, along with the knee braces, that will cushion you from the shock. I used to have lower back pains after descending mountains, and that was back 20 years ago. And since I used this technique and this system that I have had no lower back pain, and I protect my joints all the way from the feet all the way up to the neck. Every single joint is protected by this system that I have, and it's very light and versatile. So, and then here's the backpack that I use. I like this backpack. It's an old Army backpack, and it's very sturdy. It's a bit heavy. It's got a Camelback water supply in it, but the thing that I like about it is if I ever fell on my back, it's like landing on a wonderful cushion. So anyway, this is my stability and heat, warmth, comfort system as I climb in the mountains. So hope this is helpful to anyone who is hearing.